Good morning and Merry Christmas, beginning farmer friends. It is cold outside this morning, and I would say it is colder than Cromer weather. Good morning, Rosie. It's okay, let's get to the shed where we're out of the wind. As I was sitting inside by the fire where it's nice and warm, I was realizing I did not plug the tractor in last night. So I am going to get the tractor plugged in because it is 6 degrees right now, feels like -15. And I'm going to need to use the tractor today. It is also Christmas Eve today, which means tomorrow is Christmas Day, and that is the day that I said I would do a question and answer video. So let's do a question and answer video. Before I get to the questions and the, let's call them attempted answers, let me just say, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of those things. We're going to get the tractor plugged in and answer some questions. These questions are going to come at you in no particular order, and they are probably not going to be exactly word for word, but thank you to everyone who put their questions in. It's awesome. There is a lot of great questions. I think that I'm going to get them all, but I'm not 100% sure. So if I forgot one, put your next question down below, and I'll do my best to answer it in an upcoming video. First question was, when are you going to get to 4430 fixed? It's cold right now. Like I said, 6 degrees by the air temperature, -15 when you have the wind chill added in. I'm out here in a sweatshirt and a Cromer, so I need to get this question done quickly and get back inside by the fire. I was actually down by the 4430 yesterday because I went and got the grinder mixer, and it's still in a lot of pieces. We'll get the 4430 put back together and brought back up here. I'll be honest, I can't wait for that moment. The question was asked, have you ever considered shipping your products? And the answer actually is yes. You know what would be really awesome, by the way? If I had a workbench, I could just come over here and plop this saw on the workbench and then get to work on it. I don't have a workbench. We'll use this pile of lumber. Back to the question. We have actually thought about shipping our product, and the reason that we have thought about shipping our product is because there is a new program in the United States called the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Program, CIS. In fact, our locker, the Story City locker, the one that we use the most, they were the first one in the state of Iowa to be part of this program. Basically what this program does is it allows small lockers with less than 25 employees to become USDA certified through a cooperative agreement with the states, and I don't understand it all. But that is all to say this, yes, we have thought about shipping, and it is something that I would like to think about more in 2021. I don't know exactly when we will start it, but at some point, it's something that is on my radar. Now, some of the questions that came in were specifically related to a recent journey that I took to go get soy meal in the attempt and actual happening of saving some money on our soy meal. The question was, what about having stuff delivered to the farm or feed delivered to the farm? And so I want to answer this kind of from a broader question. When we started our farm, we have always had our own custom mixed ground. It might not have always been non-GMO corn like we have now, but it was always something that was custom and specific to us. First, we started out with bagged feed, and that worked pretty well until we got more pigs, and then it just became a pain to lift those bags and pour them into the feeder. I didn't really like doing that. So eventually we got a feed wagon, a Grainovator feed wagon, and we had the co-op and the different feed stores, we used a few different ones over the years, come and deliver it 2 tons at a time into that feed wagon. The delivery cost was basically the same as the bagging cost, but it saved us a ton of time, so that was a really good deal for us. There is a related question along with that asked about having the soy meal delivered. They said, I think in their question, that they have their feed delivered 2.5 hours away. That is something that we could do, but this specific feed store, they just don't do that. In fact, I haven't found a good non-GMO, which this is the sticking point for us, non-GMO feed place that would deliver to us, other than, there's a place up in Northeast Iowa, I think, that would basically just send it on a semi. It would be in totes or bags, and there would be just whatever freight fees that are associated with that. 2 very good questions that I wish I had an answer for. Somebody who listened to the podcast for a long time remembered that I did a video quite a while ago about the warmest winter boots that I've ever had. I remember what those boots were. They were the Lacrosse Alpha Range boots. I absolutely loved them. I am not wearing them today, partially because I'm going to go cut some firewood and I don't want to wear those rubber-toed boots when I'm cutting firewood, but also because I kind of destroyed them. They are amazing boots. This is not a knock on the Alpha Range boots, or if you are looking for an even warmer boot than that, they have some super insulated Lacrosse Aero insulated boots, I think it is. Those look amazing. But the thing that wore out on mine is, I'll just be completely honest, I am a cuff stuffer, okay? I like my cuffs inside my boots. Maybe it's just the pig farmer in me. And when I put my cuffs inside my boots, it wore a hole on the side of the boots on like the neoprene part. And so I had to get rid of those. There was holes in both of them. Still very good boots. Maybe not great if you're gonna stuff your thick, big insulated bibs down into the boots. We're gonna let the 4010 warm up, and I've actually got my chainsaw warming up over there as well because, well, I don't have any winter bar oil with me, so I want that oil to warm up a little bit. It's basically a gel right now. The next question I want to answer though, I think that I have, oh, let's call it a visual aid to go along with this one. The question was, what was the first project you did on the farm? I've got two. Oh, you can't see my fingers, mittens. I've got two answers to that, and it's kind of cheating, but I want to share them both. The very first farm project we did, besides building the house, which we actually hired somebody to build the shell, so we weren't doing that, was to take out a little bit of old fence that was around the corner of the road. You can see this picture here. I'm taking the fence out, and there's just a hilarious quote that comes along with it that, now that I look back on that quote, it's even more embarrassing than it was at the time. In the article, they quote me as saying, and this is an accurate quote, "I had been pulling up this buried old fence by hand," he said. "I suddenly realized I could pull it up with the tractor." Oh my goodness. That was the first project, pulling up the fence. The second project, we'll call this more like the real farm project. The first, what I would call like exciting farm project we did, was build a pen right here where the garden sits for our first pigs. 6 pigs came to the farm, and this is where they first lived. And it was one of those projects where it was like, I've got the pigs, now I need to build a fence kind of a deal, not let's build a fence and go get some pigs. That probably would have been the way to do the project, but if you've been following along for any amount of time, you know that that's not always the way that I do the projects. More questions coming, but we've got to cut some firewood. It's cold, very, very cold, and we have very, very little firewood. That article that I was referencing there, that was from 2008. It is almost 2021 right now, the end of 2020, and the question that somebody asked is, how long are you a beginning farmer? Is this like something you're ever going to grow out of? Or, they didn't say that, or are you just always going to be a good beginning farmer, or at some point you consider yourself not a beginning farmer? I really kind of painted myself into a corner by calling myself the beginning farmer, didn't I? It's not like I can, you know, 10 years down the road change the name of my website to the intermediate farmer or the somewhat along the way farmer. But to be completely honest with you, I think I am always going to be a beginning farmer. I feel like if I would have grown up on the farm, I would have my mind wrapped around it a little bit better. Maybe my kids will be these great experienced farmers because they grew up with it and they had that experiences. There's just so much to learn when it comes to farming though. In fact, I know a lot of farmers who, although probably wouldn't need to call themselves beginning farmers, they still know that there is a lot to learn and a lot to grow from. So for me, I'm always going to be the beginning farmer because I'm probably always going to be learning and growing, and in a lot of ways feel like a beginner. It's brisk today and my truck has problems. It won't start. It was plugged in all night long to the heater and still nothing. So I don't know what's wrong with it. I'm afraid I'm going to have to go get it checked out. Enough of that though, back to the question. Somebody asked specifically about that guy right there. Well, not that guy specifically, but about Dexter bulls in general. Let me get out of the wind here and see if we can answer this question. It is windy, and we're gonna have to stand over here to be out of the wind. But this question specifically was about picking out a registered Dexter bull. And to be completely honest with you, I don't have a registered herd anymore. I have cows that are technically registered, but I don't keep up my payments and membership in any of the breed associations, so although I do have registered cattle, I am not a member of the ADCA or the PDCA or whatever Dexter organizations there are out there. I do have a very little bit of advice, and basically my advice is get a bull that looks like a bull. I don't know what the Dexter world is like now, but when I started looking around at different bulls, I started seeing that basically any male that was born was considered a bull prospect, a herd sire prospect. And that's just not true. There are a lot of bulls out there that should not be used in breeding any herds. And it took me a long time to find a bull that I actually like. In fact, I drove all the way to Virginia on the way to my brother's wedding to find that bull. And the black bull that we have now, he actually is out of that bull. So that's what I would say. I will add this though, go to a farm that is like your farm. If you want to have grass-fed Dexter cattle, I would buy a bull from a grass-fed Dexter farm. I would look at what the farm looks like, I would look at what the calves look like, I would look at what the cows look like, I would look at, you know, just how does it set up. I hope that helps a little bit. Again, I'm not an expert when it comes to cattle. I'm not a wannabe even when it comes to cattle. I am just a kind of bee, a kind of wannabe. Another feed related question that came in is like, what is our feed ration? We have three. Again, you can't see my fingers, but I have three fingers up. Three things that we put in our feed most of the time, and then a fourth sometimes. The main ingredient is this non-GMO corn that my buddy raises for us. We can keep about 1,800 bushels on the farm at any one time. The next ingredient we put in by volume anyways is this non-GMO soy meal that we picked up the other day. A lot of people out there are moving away from soy meal, doing non-soy mixes. It is just not a direction that I felt like A, I've needed to go, B, that I felt comfortable going in that direction. I've looked at different sources of protein, which this soy meal provides most of the protein for the feed, and I just haven't found an answer that I like yet, so this is what we use, non-GMO soy meal. The third thing we use every single time is this Homestead 55 premix. This is made by Hubbard Feeds. It's their Homestead line. This is a Niman Ranch approved mineral mix. It's got vitamins, minerals, just added stuff to the corn and the soy meal. And then the ingredient we use from time to time is oats. When I have oats, I put it in. It's kind of in place of the corn or along with the corn, but it is something that we have used in the past. As far as how we mix it, of course, we use the grinder mixer, and we put in about 1,700 to 1,750 pounds of corn. We put in about 250 pounds of the soy meal, and then about 45 pounds or so, technically, I guess speaking, of the mineral mix. When we add in oats, it just becomes a portion of it, and honestly, I don't have that broken down. What I mix with those pieces is about a 16% protein ration. I forget what the fat is. There is a square, not actual square, but a mathematical equation square that you can use if you know the protein percentages of your corn and your soy meal, that you can use this square to put the percentage in the middle and do the math on the outside. I don't know how it works. I know that with the protein percentages of this that we get here, it's about a 16% protein that we make. Right now, we just kind of have an all stock feed. All of that feed is for all of the non-ruminants on our farm. As we get bigger and we get more efficient, I'll probably have a feed that varies percentage-wise as far as protein for the chickens and the pigs, you know, depending where they are on the various stages of life. We're gonna have to brave a walk in the wind to get to my answer for the second to last question. Thank you so much, by the way, for hanging on through all of these questions. I know I'm kind of a rambler, and so being able to hang on to all these questions, maybe you should get a prize or something. Somebody asked for an update on the erosion project, and so I think the best way to answer that is for me to say, it's still here, and I don't know what to do. Here's what I'm thinking. I am down in the main hole right here. Behind me on this side, we've got a bunch of bales that I dropped in, and then behind me on this side, we've got a bunch of bales that I dropped in. This is what I am thinking. I think that we need to get somebody smarter than me out here to come up with a plan other than planting trees in this hole and dumping bales in here. And then secondly, I am gonna dump something in here. I've got a ton of compost that has come out of the hoop house and from around the bale feeders in the winter, and it's just been piling up because I don't have a manure spreader. I haven't had a chance to spread it on my pastures, and the ideal thing would be to put that out on the pastures, but it's just not going to happen, and I'll have more compost build up and build up and build up. So what I am going to do, hopefully this winter when I get the chains on the tractor and maybe the 4430 with the cab, is I'm just going to start bringing all of that compost and dumping it down in here between those bales back there and these bales back here. Hopefully with all the trees that we have growing in here and some compost on top of it, maybe it will kind of start to backfill up a little bit and we can take care of it. And then we'll get out somebody smarter that will tell us what exactly we need to do. We're going to finish these questions off in the not warmth, but the out of the windness of the shed in front of my soon-to-be shelves. Maybe that's a project that we can get going on finishing soon. We're going on it, we just need to finish it. Anyways, the question. The question comes from somebody who's been listening to the podcast, which has been intermittent on and off since 2012, or at least that's how long they've been listening. And I just wanted to read it from the paper so I got it right. I've followed your podcast since 2012. I don't think you would deny you started the farm with, for lack of a better word, some romanticism. Truth there. Which things do you look at with ongoing optimism, romanticism, and what things have gone by the wayside? You know, that is a very good question. And to be completely honest with you, probably the best answer would be for me to say, it depends on the day. If I am in an upbeat mood and things are going along all right, I am going to be pretty romantic about everything. I'm going to think that we've got everything working and everything is great and everything's where I want it to be. But if things are kind of going on a downward trend, then I'm probably less optimistic. If I go back to 2008, that article that I already talked about today, or whenever it was that I started blogging, I knew that I wanted to farm for mostly romantic ideals. I knew that it was a job that I really wanted to have, that it had been, a dream of mine since childhood. And so I knew in the back of my mind that there was romanticism behind what I wanted to do. At the same time, I also knew that romanticism wasn't going to be true. I think the best answer for me probably though would be the things that I romanticized, like hanging out in the woods and the idyllic pastures and hay rides and bonfires and things like that. Those happen, but they don't happen nearly as much as I romanticized them to happen. And in our situation, it hasn't been as true as I would have liked to have romanticized it. That's not to say that we don't enjoy living on the farm and that our family hasn't benefited from living on the farm. It's just, it's just that it isn't always like that Hallmark movie, I guess, is probably the best way to say it. I would say that I am trying to be more realistic about what needs to be done on the farm and how soon I can get that done and how even I can get that done. And I think that's helped me a lot over the years. But I've made this video before. I have always been a dreamer. Remember, before I was going to become a farmer, I was going to be a rock star. There you have it, my best attempt at answering some amazing questions from some amazing viewers. Hopefully you are having a great Christmas wherever you are. You can celebrate Christmas any time of the year if you're not listening to this on Christmas Day. Myself, I'm going to go inside and continue to celebrate with the family. Merry Christmas, everyone.